Hi, I'm Art Caplan. I'm at the Division of Medical Ethics at the NYU Grossman School of Medicine. Well, there has been an explosion of interest recently in bills that propose to extend medical assistance in dying to more Americans as states begin to contemplate legalization. Right now, there are 10 states in the District of Columbia who have had some version of medical assistance in dying approved and on the books. That basically means about 20% of Americans have access where they live to a physician who can prescribe a lethal dose of medication to them if they're terminally ill and can ingest the medication themselves. That leaves a lot of Americans not covered by this kind of access to this kind of service. Now, many of you watching this may live in states where it is legal, places like Oregon and Washington and New Jersey and Colorado and Hawaii. And I know a lot of doctors say, I'm not going to do that. It's not something that anyone is compelling a doctor to do. And so for some Americans, access is not just where they live, but is there a doctor willing to participate with them in bringing about their accelerated death, knowing that they're inevitably going to die? There's not much we can do about that. It's up to the conscience of each physician as to what they're comfortable with. But certainly there are other things that can be done to extend the possibility of having this available. One thing that's taking place is two states, after lawsuits were filed, Vermont and Oregon, have given up on their residency requirement. So you don't have to be there 6 months or a year in order to use this opportunity. It's legal now to move to the state or visit the state. And as soon as you get there, sign up for this kind of end-of-life intervention. New Jersey is also being sued, and I'm pretty sure, I'll predict that every state that has a residency requirement when sued in court is going to lose. And that's because we've long recognized the right of Americans to seek out health care in the United States wherever they want to go. So if some states have made this a legitimate medical procedure, courts are going to say you can't restrict it just to state residents. If someone wants to use a service, they're entitled to show up from another state, another place, and use it. I'm not sure about foreign nationals, but I'm very sure that Americans can go state to state in search of legitimate medical procedures. The other bills that are out there, however, are basically saying we want to emulate Oregon and Washington and the other states and say that the terminally ill with severe restrictions are going to be able to get this service without going anywhere. So the restrictions include a diagnosis of terminal illness, that you have to be deemed mentally competent. You can't use this if you have Alzheimer's or severe depression. You have to make a request twice with a week or two in between to make sure that your request is authentic. And obviously everyone is on guard to make sure that you're not being coerced, pushed somehow into requesting a somewhat earlier death than you would have experienced without having the availability of the pills. You also have to take the pills yourself or be able to pull a switch so that you could use a feeding tube type administration. If you can't do that, say due to ALS, you're not eligible to use medical aid in dying. So this is a pretty restricted intervention. A lot of people who even get pills after going through these restrictions in the states that permit it don't use it. Maybe as many as a third say, I like having it up there as a safety valve or a parachute, but once I know I could end my life sooner, then I'm going to stick it out. So, should states make this legal? New York, Massachusetts, Florida, many states have bills that are moving through, and I'm going to say yes. We've had Oregon and Washington since the late 90s with medical aid in dying on the books. There doesn't seem to be any evidence of pushing people to use this, of bias against the disabled, of somehow bigotry against particular ethnic or racial groups being used to encourage people to end their lives sooner. I think it is an option that Americans want. I think it's an option that makes some sense. I'm well aware that we also have to make sure that people know about hospice. But in some of these states, medical aid in dying is offered as a part of hospice. Not all, but a few. And not everybody wants hospice once they realize that they're dying and that that dying is coming relatively soon. They may want to leave with family present, with a ceremony, with a quality of life that they think is what they desire. So I'm going to say past experience says let's continue to expand availability in each state. Let's also realize that we've got to keep the strict uh, restrictions in place on how it's used. That's protected us against abuse. Let's understand that every doctor has an option to do this or not do this. It's a matter of conscience, it's a matter of comfort. But I think legalization is the direction we're going to be going in. I think getting rid of the residency requirements that have been around, as I think courts are going to overturn them, also gives a push to the idea that once the service is in this many states, it's something that should be available if there are doctors willing to do it. I'm Art Caplan at the Division of Medical Ethics at NYU Grossman School of Medicine. Thank you for watching.